What is going on, you guys? Shadow back with you for another Dokkan battle review, and in this one, we're going to be discussing all of the new EZAs and awakenings that we know of. Finally, all the information has been revealed to us. We know everything. Now, I was going to do individual videos for everyone and talk about the details and everything, but I feel like since they all kind of dropped kind of around the same time, I just wanted to wait and make one video talking about everyone. I just felt like it would have made no sense, so that's what we're going to do in this one. We're going to go over everyone, and I'm going to give you guys my overall thoughts and opinions on how good I think these units are. Alright, so starting out with first form of Prime Battle Frieza. Once Extreme Z Ariad, his leader skill is Extreme Class 4 key and 90% to stats, or Super Class 3 key and 70% to stats. So already that's a much improved leader skill there from what it was. That's actually viable. You can actually get away with that in something like Battlefield. You could probably use this guy. He'll have no problems there. So his super attack, he greatly reduces attack and defense for one turn and causes colossal damage. And then his 18 key does Mega Colossal and greatly lowers attack and defense. So greatly lowering attack and defense is huge, especially for the more difficult content in the game, obviously, right? So, Infinite Dragon Ball history, where, you can have enemies' attack and defense lowered, if that may, be the case, or, in something like Super Battle Road, where you can always have their attack and defense lowered, this guy's going to be huge, because I tell you for free, this guy's going to be getting his 18 key, like, just so casual, and consistent that it's not even, you're never going to see his 12 key ever, and we'll go over why. So his passive, he gets attack and defense 50% at the start of turn for free. Then he gets an additional 3 key and defense 50% as the first or third attacker in the turn. Then he gets an additional attack 50% when performing Ultra Super Attack, plus an additional 3 key when attacking Super Class enemies. So that's like literally like all of Super Battle Road. So he's going to be getting literally at the start of turn 6 key, plus a defensive buff, right? That's 100% defensive buff. And then, as first or third attacker, he's getting key, right? So that's why you're literally never going to struggle with key. Also, if you're running support with him, which you probably are going to be because of the teams that he's on, you're going to be using pretty much villain units, right? So your Turtleses, your Kid Boos, Coolers, right? This guy, with his links, is not going to struggle at all, especially if they're full level 10s. This guy's going to be shitting out like 7 million attack stats for free. This is a free-to-play unit that's capable of doing this kind of damage, because he's greatly lowering attack and defense with 7 million attack stat. Like, that's insane. For a unit that came out in 2016, yeah. With also keep in mind he has 21,000 attack, which is one of the highest attack stats for a free-to-play unit. Just a regular unit also too. So keep in mind, if you also give him a level 5 attack, he's going to be sitting at over 2200 attack there. So his stats are insane for a free-to-play unit. And especially for like how difficult they made this guy to get. I definitely think they did us justice with how good this unit is. I really do like what they did with him. I would say I think LR Prime Battle Goku's design is a little bit better, but I don't think this design is terrible at all. I definitely think it's passable. This guy is going to be really, really strong, especially considering the teams are going to use him on. I think that's the biggest thing, alongside his just general links and his overall stats. This guy is insane. You can't deny that. So his links, obviously, Strongest Time and Space, Universal Most Malevolent, Metamorphosis, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Fear and Faith, and Legendary Power. So Big Bad Bosses is like the big one that I look at here at level 10. Is probably the best, for free. 25% attack and defense is huge. Under cooler support, you have Physical Kid Buu on rotation, maybe Turtles, right? LR Turtles giving that 3 key and 30% attack and defense, right? This guy is going to be dripping in support depending on who you bring, with links and everything like that. He is going to be shitting out insane damage, right? So keep that in mind, that this guy is insane. And the categories he's on is Planet Namek Saga, Transformation Boost, Bloodline, Dragon Ball Seekers, Terrifying Conquerors, and Inhuman Deeds. So he's on several categories where he will work amazingly because of the units that you're going to bring on these categories. They're all going to be villain-centric, right? So, especially Planet Namek Saga, I'm actually curious to see how well he buffs that category, because that is the category that needs it the most. You know, Terrifying Conquerors is going to be another category that's going to constantly get insane buffs with different supports and things like that. So this guy is going to be relevant with this EZA for a long time, right? I do love what they did with this guy's EZA. Can't wait to EZA him myself and you know, test him out. But keep in mind, to get this guy, you need a lot of prerequisites done, right? You need Prime Battle Goku's Frieza plus like 15 other EZA areas done. So it's not easy getting this guy fully EZA'd. It is pretty much a reward to get this guy's max potential. That's kind of the way they designed it, and I'm actually glad that they did, because I definitely think he's worth the grind. So I'm super in love with what they did with this guy. I think he's going to be really good, and I can't wait to use him. So with that said, let's go ahead and move over to the next unit. Next, we have Dark Mass Saiyan here with his EZA. Now his zero skill becomes all types 3 key and 80% to stats, so that's pretty fodder. Don't worry about his zero skill. His super attack now, he raises attack and defense permanently, so that's a stacking effect, so that's pretty good there. And then he causes immense damage to enemy and lowers attack and defense. So again, as I mentioned previously, lowering attack and defense is really good, very useful for difficult content. His passive here, if I can get the quote out of my way here, attack and defense 100% at the start of turn, so that's nice, big improvement there. Plus an additional 1 key and attack 50% when facing 2 or less enemies, plus an additional 1 key and attack and defense 30% when facing only 1 enemy. So I believe, you know, for Super Battle Road, a lot of times you're facing 4 enemies, not a lot of times you'll be facing 2 or even 1 for that matter. So this guy could kind of be limited depending on where you use him. So obviously for something like Goku event, you know, he's getting that 30% attack and defensive buff there with the 1 key. You know, I guess Super Battle Road is going to be the big test for him to see how well he's going to do with his stats. They are actually really good there, so I think he'll be fine. But just getting his passive is going to be a little bit difficult, I think. Just depending on where you're using him. So his links here are the same lineage, same warrior race, brutal beatdown, berserker, over 9,000. Why he has that link, I have no idea. But they need to update that link, because I don't think it's like, it's not terrible, but it's not like the best link ever. Not a lot of units are going to be able to, you know, activate that link. Same thing with Berserker. I think these are kind of wasted links on him, but he also has Prepare for Battle and Fierce Battle, so, you know, his links are decent there. But, you know, just a couple of them are a little bit questionable if you're going to be able to even get him active. And he's only on 3 categories here. Hopefully in time they'll put him on the, you know, Dragon Ball Heroes category, but we'll have to see what they do. Pure Saiyans, Time Travelers, and Goku's family is where you can use this guy. So probably, you know, Time Travelers, I'd assume, is probably going to be where this guy's going to fit best. But you could probably make him work on Pure Saiyans as well. So I don't know, this guy is really good. I do like what they did with his EZA. You know, I can't wait to test him out myself and see what he's capable of. But yeah, I think for Super Battle Road, he's a much, you know, needed option, because Extreme Tech is so bad. This guy is definitely going to be able to be viable in that mode. So I think, you know, this guy, especially for like shorter events, is going to be really good. Just depending on if you can get his passive active. You know, the 100% attack and defensive buff at the start of turn is a much great improved, you know, ability there. And I do like the fact that he gives himself key. But, you know, with his links also, this guy should be pretty good. So we'll have to see what he looks like once he comes out in game, and I can get him, you know, EZA and everything. I do have this guy rainbowed. You know, this is an older unit, so I've had this guy rainbow for a long time, but the fact that he's finally getting EZA is about damn time, because I feel like this guy should have gotten it on, you know, same day a while back. But hey, you know what, better late than never, right? So you know, this guy's EZA is really good, and I am, you know, ecstatic with what they did with him. So hopefully, you know, once it comes out in game, you know, I can kind of test him out and give you guys my overall thoughts and do a showcase for him. But I'm definitely looking forward to what this guy, you know, is capable of. Moving on to the next unit, here we have Toa. Now she is going to be put back into the general SSR pool alongside physical Mira, who we'll talk about in a minute, but with her awakening, her latest skill now becomes attack and defense 15% per key sphere obtained and recovers 1000 HP per key sphere of a character's type gained. So much better than what it was before, but nothing crazy still. I believe it's pretty much the same leader skill that Candy Vegito has. Not quite as good because I believe Candy Vegito's is 20% per key sphere, but the fact that she is also recovering HP, per key sphere obtained is nice. But you're probably not going to use her for a leader skill in all honesty, so I wouldn't really worry too much about her leader skill. It's not terrible, but it's not anything crazy. So her super attack causes supreme damage to enemy and greatly lowers defense and seals super attack. So to be honest, I'd much prefer greatly lowering attack. I think it's much more useful and beneficial. But the fact that she does also seal is very nice, especially for something like Super Battle Road where you need sealers. This Toa might be a good option, but the only thing is her links might not help with extreme tech. But we'll talk about that in a minute. So her passive skill is all allies 3 key, plus an additional attack and defense 5% for all allies per extreme class enemy on the team, or ally rather, sorry. Attack and defense 100% when there are only extreme class allies attacking in the same turn. So obviously you're going to want to run her alongside villain units, which makes sense. And then her links here are Demonic Power, Battlefield Diva, Solid Support, Scientist, Fear and Faith, Xenoverse, and Fierce Battle. So her links aren't very good, so she's gonna struggle in Extreme Tech Super Battle Road. I mean, you could probably bring her, alongside like Tech Gold and Frieza with Fear and Faith, you probably could get active and maybe Fierce Battle, but you're not gonna get any of these other links active, in something like Extreme Super Battle Road with the units and the limited options that you have for Extreme Tech. She's not going to work the greatest there, so she's probably going to have a hard time super attacking, and you want her to super attack obviously because she's sealing here and she's greatly lowering defense, which is helpful in the more difficult content in the game. But as I mentioned previously, that I would prefer the greatly lowering attack, especially for difficult content in the game. I think it's much more valuable, but she's solid at best. She does nothing crazy here. She does give key, which I do like, and then obviously the attack and defensive support here for per enemy allies on the team is nice. So she's a solid support type unit, but she's nothing insane. I definitely think, especially like on a time traveler categories with different villain units, she could be a really good support there. So I think that's probably going to be her best fit. Just because Peppy Gals doesn't really have a lot of villain units. Same thing with Sibling Bonds and Battle of Wits. You need to run her around villain units to get her, full passive active and have her, her full effectiveness at hand, right? So I definitely think she's a lot better than what she was, but I don't think she's like anything crazy. So, I don't even have her, so I'm hoping I can get her just in time. She's going to be returning back on, I believe, the Time Travelers banner. It's going to be like a special banner where Mira and Toa will be featured. I don't recommend summoning on that just because we have heroes around the corner, but if you must, I guess go for it because you're gonna have the best chances to get these guys. I mean, keep in mind they are, as I said, getting put back into the general SSR pool after that banner, so I would just let these guys come to you in time, but if you must have them right when they come out, then go for it. But honestly, I don't think she's or any of these awakenings are must have units over what's coming in terms of heroes content or of what we know of. So definitely hold up on getting these guys because their awakenings are really good, but they're not like insanely busted. They're just solid at best. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the next unit. Moving on, we have our boy Mira here. After his awakening, he now gives physical types 3 key and 90% to stats. His super attack, he raises attack and defense and causes supreme damage, so another one of these stacking units, always nice for difficult long events in the game. His passive skill, he gets attack and defense 100% when performing a super attack, plus an additional attack 30% when there are only extreme class allies attacking in the same turn. Then he gets 1 key with each super attack performed up to 3, and he can absorb when conditions are met. So I do like units that get attack and defensive buffs on start of turn rather than having to perform a super attack, just because it takes the unit out of being able to be ran at slot 1, especially when the slot 1 is getting attacked 6, 7 multiple times, whatever. This unit will take damage beforehand, but after super attacking, getting that defensive buff, he should be what are his stats? Wow, his stats are really low, so he is going to take a lot of damage depending on where you're using him in. But the fact that he also is giving himself 130% attack buff on super attack is nice, and he's also giving himself key and being a pretty good support type unit with other extreme class allies on the team. So I do definitely think this guy is solid, no doubt about that. So obviously his links are going to be a little bit tricky to activate depending on who you're running, but things like Kamehameha, there are a lot of different Valen units that you could probably use to make it work. So I don't think it's the worst, link set ever, but it could be a little bit tricky depending on the situation. So I guess the one thing that does make up for this guy and his not so great links here are the categories that he's on. You are going to be able to get away with using different villain units on these different teams, so he'll be able to be effective, no doubt, right? So his transformation conditions here are: after 4 turns and below 60% HP, you will automatically go into Final Form Mira. So his super attack in this mode, he raises attack and causes supreme damage, so he no longer stacks. Then his passive skill is attack and defense 120% when performing super attack, so obviously that only gives up 20%, so not crazy there. But and then he also gets a medium chance of launching an additional super attack, so that's obviously where giving this guy full additionals is going to help this guy, because he's raising attack, right? So he's already stacking, so he's going to be hitting pretty hard in this form already, especially if you have support alongside him, something in like maybe Turles or Toa, but this guy is going to be hitting at a pretty decentable amount of damage, and then he's also getting an additional 3 key and another attack 30%, so he's giving himself quite a good attack buff there also. So because you're literally going to be running him alongside other villain units. So he also gives additional attack and defense 5% per enemy class ally on the team. So like I said, he's really heavily supporting himself, and other units on the team are supporting him. So I think this guy really works well. I do like what they did with him, but he is very limited in where you're going to use him. Obviously you want full villain builds for all these awakenings and these Xenoverse characters, but this guy is really good. But the only issue is you are hardly ever going to get to this guy. The fact that they just like to heavily restrict these transformation conditions is really disappointing, and they really should have just made it 4 turns and you're good to go, because this guy is really good, right? He is going to be doing really good damage. He's going to be sitting okay defensively. It's just his stats are kind of low. That's the only negative about this unit, but nonetheless, he is a really old card. So previously, compared to what he was back in 2016 to what he is now, he's actually really good in that department. So I definitely do like what they did with this guy's awakening. So, and the fact that he's on plenty of categories here, is gonna take away from his not so great link set. So you'll definitely be able to work around that. So I do really like this guy and what they did with him. So let's talk about the last unit before we wrap everything up. And last but not least, everyone's favorite character here, Demigra. His awakening is really good here. So his super skill is all types 3 key and 7% of stats, so trash. His super attack causes supreme damage with medium chance of stunning, so again, another unit that can stun, especially for villain units, is nice in the difficult content of the game. His passive skill, he gets attack and defense 120% plus an additional attack and defense 60% when there are only extreme class allies attacking the same turn. So for free, at the start of turn, literally he's getting 180% attack and defensive buff, which is insane. To put that in perspective, the new Gogeta that just came out gets 200% at the start of turn. So this guy's only 20% below that, so that's actually really good. He has a high chance of stunning the attacked enemy, and then he has a high chance of transforming into a final form when HP is 60% or below. So I believe that's the same as like grade 8 Cumber, so you're probably not going to see that hardly ever, because it's only a high chance. So it's not really something too much to worry about. but let's take a look at it real quick. So in his grade 8 whatever form, he just says destructive damage with a rare chance of stunning, so nothing crazy there. However, you don't have to worry about taking damage, so depending on the event that you're in, this mode or transformation condition could be, pretty helpful. But, like I said, it's not going to be something that you're going to see very frequently, so it's not something too much to worry about. Now, here's another thing that is something to take into consideration with this guy is he has big bad bosses. With, Xenoverse, let's say you run Toa on the team, you get someone that has big bad bosses, which is for free, 25% attack and defense. This is 20% attack, alongside the 180% attack and defense buff that he gets at the start of turn, because you're going to be running this guy with a full villain build, and if you have other support on the team and rotation, for that matter, this guy is going to be doing really good damage. Do I like this guy better than Mira? I might, just because, Mira, in his transformed state, which you're never going to see, he has to super attack first to get this buff. This guy just gets it at the start of turn. So, I don't know, it's something to keep in mind and take into consideration. Not to say that Mira is bad or anything like that, but, I guess Mira is on more categories, so which makes him a little bit less restrictive. But then again, he doesn't have big bad bosses, whereas this guy does, so I don't know. I mean, the two of them are really good, but in terms of who I like more, I think it's kind of in the air. Maybe I'm leaning towards this guy just a little bit, but, we'll have to see. But, I don't even have Mira, so I can't really say for sure. Alongside Toa, I don't have either of them, so hopefully, in time I'll be able to pull them, but until then, I'll just have to kind of go off what everyone else says and see for myself. But nonetheless, this guy is really good, right, with his awakening. I think all these units are incredible with their, awakenings and EZAs and such, right? So I'm definitely really excited for this update. Another thing to consider with this guy is, he is on Rubber Gods, another buff, because the Rubber Gods can't go a single day of every second without getting buffed. It's really annoying, but it is what it is, right? Just have to make that category stronger and stronger. Resurrected Warriors will be a good team for him, Giant Form, Time Travelers, and Final Trump card, so, he does have teams that he'll work on. I think all of these, they really want you to run these 3 new awakenings on Time Travelers. I think that's probably going to be all 3 of their best fits, but you can certainly make them work on other teams. So, I really like this guy and what they did with his awakening. I really like Mira too. Toa is really good, but she's pretty restricted. But, Mira, with his transformation condition, I just wish you could see it more frequently. But, this guy, I think I like his overall design the most in terms of the other 2. So, I guess, LR First Form Frieza is really good. Can't wait to see, or can't wait to fully awaken him when he drops. Mass Saiyan is incredible. Definitely, an older unit that should have gotten his EZA back on Saiyan Day. But hey, you know what, better late than never for him, right? And then, these guys have been in the game since 2016, so the fact that they're finally, reintroducing them into the game again is very nice. So let me know what you guys think of all these, new units in this update. I'm super excited for everything that's coming. This is not a coincidence that these 3 Xenoverse characters are awakening right before Heroes. I guess this is kind of setting us up for whatever is coming, so keep that in mind. But, I guess that's going to wrap up everything that I want to talk about with these new, updates and awakenings. And I guess until the next one, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thanks for watching, and, like, comment, subscribe if you're new to my channel. And follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ShadowX. And until next time, I'm going to be clocking out. ShadowX Gaming. See you guys in the next one.